Hey, today I'm going to talk about this company, formerly known as Madecasse, now known as Beyond Good by Madecasse. So this company was started by two Peace Corps volunteers, or two former Peace Corps volunteers, Brett Beach and Tim McCollum. The company was started in 2008. These two guys first met when they were in the Peace Corps in Madagascar. So this company is all focused on Madagascar. Brett is no longer with the company. Something happened in 2016, and he and his wife have now moved to do other prospects having to do with chocolate. Tim McCollum is the founder and CEO. So he was in the Peace Corps from 1999 to 2001 in Madagascar teaching English. Then he came back to the United States and worked for American Express actually from 2001 to 2008 as in global marketing and product development. He decided he wanted to do something that had more of an impact, more of a social change. So he started in 2008 Madecasse, which is now known as Beyond Good. They are based out of Brooklyn, New York, and they now have a factory in Madagascar. They were doing production at Origin for about 7 years. Then they decided they wanted to build a factory in Madagascar, a new state-of-the-art factory. So production shifted overseas for a little while, and now the factory was completed in 2019, and now they're moving production back to Madagascar. So really their project started off as a totally for the social value. They wanted to have real impact in the lives of farmers, the Malagasy farmers, and to make a change in their lives. You may or may not know that up to 70% or more, somewhere around there, give or take a few, 70% of the cacao grown in the world is grown in Africa. Less than 1% of chocolate in the world is made in Africa. So most of the value leaves Africa when the beans leave Africa. And it can take about 120 days, or up to 120 days in transit to get those beans to the chocolate makers. So manufacturing at origin removes 3 to 5 middlemen in the supply chain and basically rewrites the supply chain so that most of the value stays in Africa. And this is what they were after with Madecasse. They wanted the farmer to be making more money, to be able to be making a living wage to support their family. So originally, when they started, they partnered with a growing co-op, a cooperative, the Izaka cooperative in a remote area of Madagascar. And they had, in the beginning, trouble meeting the U.S. quality standards. So Beyond Good set up a system that gave the farmers value-added skills. They learned about drying and fermenting and flavor development. They learned about organization and record keeping. And in the end, what they end up producing with their is heirloom cacao beans versus commodity beans. And so they go from making 45 to 75 cents a day to, for beans for Beyond Good, $3.60 a day, which is a significant difference for the farmers. So it means instead of just always thinking about surviving, that the farmers can start to have some forward thinking, that they can move beyond the poverty cycle. They can think about how they can improve their business. They can think about their children getting educated. They can think about women becoming involved in the business. And that's a major problem with the larger end of the cocoa supply chain is endemic poverty and no transparency. Those are the two major problems. So Beyond Good is trying to change that by manufacturing in Madagascar. They also try to increase their transparency by having a third-party transparency report, which you can look up on their website. So you may have noticed that on one of my packages, it says Madecasse, sorry, and on the other package it says Madecasse by Beyond Good by Madecasse. So just recently they have rebranded. So they've gone through quite a few actually iterations of their packaging. It used to have a guy carrying that shoulder thing, I don't know what that's called, carrying 2 buckets on his shoulders, and then it had the pictures of the inclusion. So they've gone through a few rebranding packages, but Tim McCollum will say that they've been in a business for 12 years now. For 11 of those years, they knew that the name was a problem, that nobody knew how to pronounce the name properly, and so it was difficult to really get that really strong brand. So although they've changed their name, they haven't changed their mission. So the name comes from 90% of the cacao beans out there are commodity beans. They're good beans. The 3% of the heirloom cacao beans, they are beyond good beans, and those are the beans that they use in their bars. Some other things that they have done, so we'll talk about this a little more, but you can see some of their certifications. So they do not do fair trade. For them, fair trade certification didn't work, as it doesn't work for a lot of quality bean farmers. It was more of a top-down thing, and it didn't work with their small stakeholder farmers because it was just more money than the value it added. So instead of doing fair trade, they do direct trade, which also takes out the middleman, puts more money in the pocket of the farmers. What else do I want to tell you about them? When they first started, they were originally made and packaged by Chocolaterie Robert in France. Now they're doing half of their production, or last I read, they were doing half of their production in Madagascar and half in Italy. They're hoping to move it all to Madagascar very soon. So in 2019, 2020, when they completed the factory, they were doing about 1 million bars a year. They're hoping to get that up to 4 to 5 million bars a year when everything has moved to their Madagascar factory. So I have a couple bars, 4 bars. I have 2 with the older branding on it. They do several different percentages of straight cacao. They have lots of inclusion ones, toasted coconut and crispy rice and salted caramel. I think I'm going to open the crispy rice today. So let's flip the camera around and we'll talk a little bit more about the packaging, and we'll open it up and take a taste. Okay, so it used to be that all of their beans came from Madagascar. So my older packages, their beans are all from Madagascar. Now they've also started using beans from Uganda, another African country. My 2 newer bars are both from Uganda. So I'm going to open the Uganda crispy rice. So we have the Madecasse, Beyond Good by Madecasse. They have incorporated, they moved from just showing the inclusion to showing first a lemur and now the giraffe. I'll talk a little bit about the lemur and the environmental impact after we've eaten the bar. It's actually a really interesting thing that happened when you move someone out of poverty. There's kind of like a, I don't know, trickle down, for the lack of better terms, that happens with the environment and other things. So we've got their giraffe holding a cacao pod. These beans are from Uganda. It's a single origin. Crispy rice is our inclusion. We have 73%. Again, they don't do fair trade. They do direct trade, which is better than fair trade. They are certified organic though by the USDA. All right, let's flip this over and see what we can see on the back here. So they talk about how they are recently moving into Uganda, getting cocoa beans from Uganda, as well as Madagascar. Nutrition facts, and then you can see all of their ingredients are organic. So organic cocoa beans, organic cane sugar, organic cocoa butter, organic crispy rice, organic vanilla extract. Actually, Beyond Good actually makes their own vanilla extract that you can sell that they say has 2 times the amount of vanilla beans in it that normal extract has. Vanilla is also a large crop grown on Madagascar. So this is actually one of the bars that's produced in Italy. It is gluten-free, soy-free, vegan, and kosher. It's got an expiration date too. So I'm going to open this one up. We'll take a look and try it. Okay. Well, it looks very much like a crispy rice bar of another brand. It's a nice big bar, and it's got a nice shine to it, nice even color, good color. It almost looks like a milk color, but it smells really good. Okay, let's see if we can hear a snap here. Not bad for a snap. 72% it does have, or 73, what was it? 73%. It does have additional cocoa butter, so not a super strong snap. You can see those crispy rice bits in there. Lots of inclusion in that one. Okay, let's warm it up. To get the aroma to come out and release the volatile compounds, I just warm up the cocoa butter a little bit with my thumb, because cocoa butter has a melting point close to human body temperature. Okay, so when I smell this, I get really like almost a French roast to the cocoa beans, a really dark roast. Maybe a little bit of nuttiness. When I taste it, if you ate Nestle Crunch as a kid, you might have a hard time slowing down with this one. So it's got the crunch of the Rice Crisps, but it's not nearly, it's not hard, not sweet at all. Deep, dark chocolate flavor to it. Heavy, dark roasted chocolate flavor. Earthiness, some earthiness to it, and maybe a little bit of nuts, walnuts at the end. The rice is really, the texture of the rice really wants you to make you keep eating it. Like I'm munching on it right now. I'm gonna have to hide this one. Yeah, if you're a fan of Nestle Crunch as a kid, yeah, I think you should try this one, because you like this one if you're a fan of dark chocolate. The grown-up chocolate now. It's a nice bar. I don't know that the Uganda is as nice as their Madagascar beans. Madagascar beans are considered some of the highest quality beans in the world, and they have really interesting and unique flavor to them. A unique terroir. This one, it's good, but I find that I prefer their Madagascar beans to the Uganda. So let's flip the camera around, and I'll tell you a little bit about the lemurs and their environmental impact. Okay, so with why do they have a lemur on their packages instead of what they originally had, farmers and inclusions? So what they found was that the island of Madagascar, in case you didn't know, has been isolated from the continent of Africa for a long time. Millions, tens of millions of years. And so they've developed a lot of unique species, animal and flora species, that are unique and endemic to Madagascar. 85% of the species on Madagascar are found nowhere else in the world. So with a lot of the hard farming and other things that are happening in Madagascar, there's a lot of deforestation going on. Now, if you know anything about how cacao is grown, cacao is an understory tree, which means in a rainforest setting, it likes to be on the lower levels. So you have the really tall trees that give the canopy, and cacao likes to grow under here and be an understory tree and get the filtered light through the canopy. So to grow cacao, you can't just grow cacao by itself. You have to have cacao, what's called agroforestry, which means you have to have other trees growing. And so these farmers are realizing that to increase their farms, to increase their production, to have a better crop, they need to participate in this agroforestry, where they plant companion trees or rainforest trees to go along with the cacao trees. And what's happened is they've effectively, when you take them out of the poverty cycle and now you have the farmers thinking about their businesses and how they can improve things, what happens is this trickle down of environmental change. So as they see that they can improve their farm by decreasing deforestation, deforestation decreases. If you can increase it by replanting the forest, you are replanting the rainforest. So then people started to think, hey, I wonder if this cocoa agroforestry can support indigenous wildlife, and especially lemurs. We all know that lemurs go with Madagascar. So they brought some people in, they brought some researchers in just to see if the lemurs could live there again. And the researchers went and they spent 6 months in these cocoa forests, and lo and behold, they discovered that, hey, already the lemurs were living in these cocoa forests. They were coming back and they were living there, and it was already supporting the lemurs. And not only was it supporting 5 endangered species of lemurs, but also 19 species of birds and several species of chameleons, and even the Madagascar flying fox. So when the only thing on your mind is, how am I going to survive to the next day and feed my family, you can't think about these other things that have impact, wide-ranging impact. When you aren't worrying about how to feed yourself and your family, you can start thinking about things like education for your family, like improving your community, like decreasing deforestation, like contributing to the environment instead of taking away from the environment. And that's one of the bounce back effects that has happened because of Beyond Good working with these farmers. So it's just awesome. And now you know why there's a lemur on the front holding a cacao pod. So that is Madecasse, Beyond Good by Madecasse, as they are now known. Beyond Good. They are pretty widely distributed in the United States. I think they're in like several thousand places in the United States, lots of health food stores. Less so in Europe. You might have a little bit harder time finding it in Europe. But that is Beyond Good, and they are doing some awesome work in Madagascar, and I wish them luck with their new factory and hope that they can keep bringing value back to the Malagasy people. Next week, we'll do another chocolate maker. If you like learning about the chocolate makers and like learning this kind of information, please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and feel free to share with your other chocolate-loving friends. And we'll see you next week. Thanks.